Okay. What's going on, everybody? John Bliss here with the Wasatch Way, and we're excited to have you guys here tonight. We're excited to have our special guest here. We have Jared Wright from Heber Light Power. We have Aaron Cheatwood, City Council member, as well as owner-operator of ACE IT Solutions, ACE Rescue IT Solutions. To my left is my hetero life mate, Jeremy Osman, co-host here, and we are in the Lily Pad Studios, right in Midway, Utah. Beautiful, beautiful area. How you guys doing tonight?
Beautiful.
Doing great.
Now, Aaron, you are ACE Rescue, but you are also on the board,
I am,
on
yeah.
Heber Light Power's board, representative from the council, or how does that work?
Correct. Yeah, the Heber City Council has
Okay.
3 slots on the board for Heber Light Power. So it's me, Sid Ostergaard, and the mayor.
Okay. I've actually
And
met.
I would have gone and changed the shirt, but I had a busy
That's
work
okay.
day. So you got the work shirt today.
We love it. We want to do a couple things. First, let you guys know about one community happening that is happening. Heber Light Power is offering a scholarship opportunity, correct?
We are, yep.
Would you like to share a little bit about it?
Absolutely. So it's a joint effort between a Utah association called UAMPS, which Heber Light Power is a member of, and a similar one in Idaho. Idaho hosts it. They call it the Youth Rally, and it allows sophomore and juniors in high school the opportunity to win a scholarship and an all expenses paid trip to Idaho to the rally, where they learn about government and how utilities work. So utility industry at whole, but also how it works with municipal
All right.
power companies. So yeah, that's open now. You just have to write an essay, not a bad essay, not a long one. And then we'll choose a winner out of that and send it on to UAMPS. And there's going to be 4 winners there. So great opportunity if you're at all interested in the electrical or the electric utility industry.
Cool.
Get an essay to me.
I love
Now,
it.
wouldn't that be that? I don't know if that was done in my time back when I was in high school. I don't know if anybody would have written it to get a trip to Idaho. Now, if it was a trip
I
to
know,
Vegas
Idaho's
or
pretty
California,
Yeah.
That's my home state, man.
that's what I'm saying. I don't know anybody.
Incredible. Incredible. This is for you, gentlemen. These are our proud to be from Heber Valley stickers.
Awesome.
Saying thank you for coming on the podcast. It's both of your guys' first time here, and I'm incredibly grateful for the fact that we reached out to you today, and both of you guys dropped everything to come be here.
You got it, man.
A big reason we wanted you guys here tonight is because there's a lot of misinformation and issues going on online on Facebook, which the entire reason we started this podcast is because of what's happening right now.
Yeah.
A bunch of negativity, a bunch of misinformation. I don't want to say lies, but not quite accurate information. And, I also missed the Heber Light Power meeting the other night. And so, you were gracious enough with your time to come here. And I'd love to just go over what's going on. There's a rate increase going on. There was a proposed meeting some of us got to miss. Tell us a little bit about what is going on.
Either one.
Well, can I throw out, before we talk about
Yes.
the meeting, can I throw out something about Facebook and energy
Let's go.
generally? I ran on one of the things I ran for office on was increasing public awareness, increasing public engagement, right? I'd like to
Yes.
see more people be involved in a good way,
I
right?
love it.
And that doesn't mean agree. It just means be involved, right?
Yes.
One of the things that's the biggest bummer, John, about stuff that goes on Facebook, especially the misinformation, is some of it is so far wrong, and if you threw out lie and didn't mean to, and I'm not going to throw out lie either, but it's so far wrong that it just frustrates people to the point where they think I shouldn't be involved. We've lost the battle. It's hopeless, whatever it is. It frustrates them to the point where we're not talking collaboratively anymore. We're not coming up with solutions. We're not coming up with, ways to do things differently or do things better. We're just giving up. And giving up,
Just blackpilling them, essentially.
giving up is the only way that government doesn't work for you. The only way to make sure your voice is not heard, that you don't have a say, and that your vote isn't there is to not show up and to give up and to just be quiet, right? So one of the things that bothers me the most about the misinformation is, like I say, it's not, hey, here's the fact. I think that's a problem. What do you guys think? Which would be a collaborative conversation.
Mhm.
Maybe we deep dive, maybe we learn something, we understand something more. It's this and this and this and this are, and they're not true when you dig in. And most people don't have time to dig in. And
Yeah.
so what happens is the people that just see it quickly, they then move on with this attitude of, I can't do anything about this. I'm just the little guy. I'm getting picked on.
Yep.
And that's the wrong way to get engagement.
And
I want
that's-
people to show up to meetings because
Exactly.
I want real questions.
And a lot of times for meetings, I can't be there or I'm working late.
Sure.
I'll bring them up. There's a link. You can watch them on Zoom. You can
watch
watch them
them, you can-
online.
We have the same problem with problem plus benefit
Yeah.
of the city council meetings. You can show up online, you can write in, you can email to the Heber Light Power as well. You can write to the board directly, you can write to the city council. The reality is people that disagree, I want to hear from because I want to be challenged. I want to have ideas. We had one of my best things about this meeting. I'm sorry, I'm taking too much time.
Oh, no,
One
you're
of the
good.
best things about this meeting the other night was we had some good ideas. We had some residents that came with good ideas. They asked good questions. We've got a couple things to look into now. We literally can get better because of the positivity and it was challenging, but the questions that came out of it, right?
Yeah.
And frankly, I think we'd have had more people show up to that meeting with good questions if they didn't give up because they thought this battle was lost already because they, had
One
misinformation.
thing that we had Rachel Kaler on last week,
Great episode.
and we talked about the bypass. I don't know how many times I heard after the fact was I saw the map and they're going to put 30 roundabouts along this highway. And Rachel explained 1,000 times, just because it's a circle on the map
doesn't mean it's
a roundabout. It was that free flow. And that's where they were saying that they would put the free flow, but it was, a round thing. This is where it's going to flow freely through. And I don't know how many times I answered that question. And I was like, because somebody got on and went, they're putting a bunch of roundabouts. And then somebody else was, feeding off of that.
Yeah.
And
one of the controversial things this last week, to address it head on, I mean, somebody posted on Facebook about the salaries and the, kind of the workforce part of the labor expenses for Heber Light Power, which everybody's going to look a little deeper when we're talking about rate increases. Mm-hmm. That's to be expected. Yep. Frankly, it's to be welcomed, right? But the reality is that some of the numbers that were put out there were inaccurate. And they were inaccurate so much so that folks over at Heber Light Power ended up wasting time out of their day answering questions.
Phones. Yep.
For a fact, quote unquote fact that was shared that was just wrong.
Yeah.
It was just wrong. Right. With a little bit more research, you get the right numbers, and frankly, you share the right numbers. And if we still disagree or you got a problem with it, at least we can start from the correct baseline.
Yes.
Right.
At least we can start from a conversation that makes sense. Because frankly, starting with "you're wrong" is never good, right? It's just kind of a hard conversation to have.
Sorry, you're
it's
wrong.
It's better to say,
you're wrong.
That is where we're at. It's better to say, you know what, that's where we're at, and let's talk about it. Because let me explain why it is where it is.
Yeah. Let me give you an example of, if you give some input, doesn't mean that it's just going to go out into the ether. We'll probably talk about it later, but our very own Jeremy here came to me one day and said, "Why aren't you offering rebates for this thing?"
Yeah.
And I said, "I don't know. I'll look into it." A few months later, I had it approved, and we now offer those rebates. So your input does matter.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I did something right.
Few and far between. One thing I do want to say is when we were talking to Rachel Kaler, one of my biggest problems that I've had was actually answered by you, Mr. Cheatwood. I've always struggled with, I can't always make it to meetings. And there's so much that happens and gets said online and in the comments, and I'm probably the most guilty out of us four of getting caught up in that type of stuff. But not having people active enough on social media, and you've solved that. Every time I see something controversial pop up, I see your name pop up and you're out there spitting facts of what's actually happening, why decisions are being made the way they are. And I commend you wholeheartedly for it, because it makes me feel better knowing that you're trying to be as transparent as possible. And I can look to you of what's going on and not trust the 3 or 4 other people who didn't go to the meeting. They don't have the right facts and they don't care enough to be right and forward progress. Does that make sense?
It does, but and you're giving me too much credit there. I do my best. I'm trying my best. Frankly,
You do well.
Frankly, half the time I write something, I end up
Deleting it.
pausing and deleting afterward.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of emotions sometimes. One of the things I dislike the most about life in general is unfairness. And if people are being attacked unfairly or organizations are being attacked unfairly, I just have a hard time with that. So it gets me hot and bothered, right?
Yeah.
So, a lot of times, John, I'll write stuff out and then I'll pause and step back and write something nicer. But the reality is, I think, it takes a lot of time to be on there and answer questions.
Yes.
Thankfully, I'm on the social media sometimes just to help drive my own business and be available to customers and whatnot. And as a result, I do have some time there. The thing that I could say, if I and here's my rooftop to shout from, right? I always say, if I could shout from the rooftop, here's my rooftop. The thing I'd say is, both for the Heber City, for Wasatch County, Heber Light Power, these organizations have public-facing websites where they have so much information that if you want to be put to sleep, you can. Every single bit of information that we get as a city council, for instance, is available in those board packets. If you want to sit and read through the 400 pages, you can. And you don't have to. I'm not even saying you got to put in that much work. I'm just saying if you got a question about something that's on there, go to that section in the agenda, read what we've got, and then wait till a day or two after the meeting and go look at the video, and you can see how did the conversation go. Did they ask the question I needed them to ask? Maybe you can get some information, and frankly, maybe you'll go, oh, you know what? They didn't say this or they didn't think about that. My best comments are from folks in the community that'll watch a meeting, because to your point, you can't necessarily make it. They'll watch a meeting and they'll write in and say, I liked how this part, have you thought about this? Great. Have you considered this? We got a comment this week. I don't remember the gentleman's name specifically right now, but we got a comment about Heber Light Power. After the meeting, I got a comment that said, have you thought about incentives for battery storage? Oh, here's the thing. We didn't even talk about it. We didn't bring it up at all. Yeah. Have we thought about it?
Yep.
I don't know. But the fact that he read some things, had some questions, watched the video and thought, shoot, I wish I'd asked that question. It gives us something to think about, to talk about. And maybe it's not a solution, but it gives us something to go off of. And so I'd just say, here's my soapbox, and I'll get off. Take the time. Everybody should take the time to at least get on, see what's being talked about, see if you're interested in something about it. Come to the meeting if you can. Come online if you can. And if you can't, don't feel bad. We're all busy. But know that those resources are there. You can go back and watch the video if you want to. You can certainly go back and read the minutes. Yeah. You can be informed. And once you're informed, if we still disagree, let me know. Because that's great. Yeah, perfect. But please take the time to be informed first.
Yeah. So let's talk about the meeting. Let's talk about the 13% increase that's proposed. And break it down for me like I'm a high school student.
Yeah, dumb it down. You have to dumb it down for me.
You want to take this for a minute?
Yeah, I'll take a little bit. So Heber Light Power, at the direction of the board of directors, frequently does rate studies, and what that rate study entails is probably the most important part of that study is to see what it costs to provide the service. Okay, sure. So a cost of service study. And a lot goes into it. It takes months to get through. There's a whole bunch of data that they have to go through to get to this. And it's a third-party consultant. The consultant we use is very knowledgeable about the industry. He's one of the leaders of the APPA, which is the National Association for Public Power. Very highly thought of. Does a very good job. But he goes through and finds out what it costs for us to provide that service, and then from there, it's doing the fine tuning of how are we going to collect that fairly, and that's a big part of it is the fairly. So even down to the point where, even though the whole rate increase is 13%, that's what we're looking for. Not every rate class is going to have 13%. Sure. Some may be a little more, some a little less. There was even one that showed it needed a decrease to get it to where it's all in that fair realm where everyone's paying their share of those costs. So a lot of time and effort goes into it. And so, just the 13% is what was figured out for a myriad of reasons, some of which Aaron knows better than I do, talking, about it in the board. But yeah, so that's the background of it.
I guess we talked a little bit before we got on. Is it growth? Is it everybody moving in and there's 5,000 homes going to be hooked to the grid, so we've got to up the power? And
yeah, it's part of it, right? I mean, the
Yeah.
answer is yes. The thing is, back to the misinformation, there was this comment and question about, is this all just salaries? Well, no, it's not.
Yeah.
Is this all just growth? No, it's not. But both of those things are part of
Yeah.
it, right? The reality is, we faced, and this is an echo for the whole world, right? We faced insane inflation on parts and costs and time and materials to just keep the power on. Just to maintain. Things cost significantly more than they used to.
So
right?
I'm sitting in my house, and all of a sudden my lights start to flicker, and I hear this boom. It's a transformer.
Mm-hmm.
Those things aren't cheap.
No. Do you remember the percent increase on that?
It's insane. It's probably 100% increase. And you can't get them. Residential transformers are still 8 to 12 months out.
Oh my!
To even get them.
So you guys stock them.
Yeah, we have to keep in stock what we can. Yeah. But there's developments that have been on hold for a couple of years now.
Yeah. Because we don't have
the parts to get going.
So really, Heber Light Power, you're talking about rate increases and 13%, and this, it's no different than you, me, Aaron, running our businesses.
Right.
Yeah.
There's inflation, there's hard costs, with the HVAC industry, we're looking at anywhere from a 7 to a 10% increase just in metal prices.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, metal's been insane. Transformers and the material that they're made up of are insane. The amount of mileage of wire that just has to be maintained.
Yeah.
And there's something that's probably a little deep for tonight, but the reality is there's a targeted age of the system. Right? Because we don't want things to get so old to the point where they're failing when we could have fixed them, if that makes sense. We don't want to replace them before we need to. That's stupid as well, right? Yeah. But there's this targeted age of the system, and just maintaining that age means that we have to continue to, those things are getting more expensive, right? So the reality is, is there some headcount change? Yeah. Is there keeping up with the reality of wage inflation? To an extent, yes, although we are a little bit lower than industry. Yeah. Is there fuel costs and wire costs and supply costs and transformer costs and power delivery costs, which, by the way, is one of the biggest things, is the cost of buying power from the market. All those things go into it. Yeah. What's interesting about the Heber Light Power compared to, you just mentioned our business, right? What's interesting about that is, if you got cost increase such that your profitability goes down to where you can't survive anymore, you've got a couple options, right? You can stop your business and go somewhere else, start a new business. Yep. You can stop your business and go get employed somewhere else. You can raise your prices and hope your customers stick around and you make that back, right? Heber Light Power doesn't have those kind of options. Yep. We have to, at least from the board perspective, we have to maintain the promise to the customer, which is that we're going to have power, it's going to be safe, and it's going to be reliable. And we have to maintain the promise of safety in workplace and in tools and in materials to our employee base. So when we see there's a gap, we have to consider, what does it mean to be fiscally responsible and reliable as a power entity and a power provider? Yeah. And it's different than my company. If I had cost increase and wasn't able to pass on some of that or find efficiencies in my business, I could close shop. And if you got a problem with your computer or your network, you can go and find another network provider, right? Yep. Or another computer repair shop or something like that. In Heber Light Power, our customers don't have that option. We have to work for them. It has to be there. We have to be able to borrow. We have to be able to spend. We have to be able to replace as it's needed.
Well, I know when my power goes out, I just run an extension cord over to the neighbor's garage and plug it in, and I can get power.
That works too. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about this. With the rate going up, I personally am always late on my power bill, and I'm always looking for ways to save on my power bill. Do you have any recommendations, or where can we go to find out how to do better with power consumption?
There's lots of resources. We have some of that on our website with some links to Department of Energy resources, things like that. something
Now,
that.
Sorry, just to
No, yeah, go
interject
ahead.
here real quick. You guys partnered, I can't remember, UAMPS or Watt Smart, which is Rocky Mountain Power. You guys have that stuff on your website of
Yeah, we do. So, we run our own rebate program for efficiency. It's patterned much after what Rocky Mountain Power does, because frankly, that's who we're surrounded by.
Yeah.
That's our competition.
Yeah.
Quote unquote. We try to do what we can there. But when I talk to people about efficiency, the thing that I want them to know is that the number one thing is how they use power.
Mhm.
Okay, it starts with them. Is it good to get a much more efficient HVAC? Absolutely, and we offer a rebate for that.
Yep.
But if you can remember to turn off a light, unplug something that you're not using, just things here and there, that's where you save. And that's one of the most underutilized service that we offer is I do simple, and I say simple because I don't get into all of with the tools and things like that, because it's just that would cost money and I'd have to charge for that. I offer a free home audit. Just come and sit down with you, look through some things, give some suggestions, whether it's something like, the caulk seal around your windows is, recaulk it, something as simple as that to, that furnace is 140 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get it replaced. Just
Yeah.
whatever it may be. So,
and I mean, I've called Jared several times with the HV with my business is, rebates because air conditioners. I know with the new lowest SEER rating air conditioner we can put in is right now is 13.4. Well, if you put a 17 SEER air conditioner in, that 17 SEER costs half as much to run as the 13. And as you go up in 18, 19, 20, I think I've seen a couple of people with like 25 SEER air conditioners.
Wow.
And they cost next to nothing to run.
What's the rebate like for putting in high efficient stuff? I mean, you know better than
I know one thing you guys do offer that Rocky Mountain Power does not is they got rid of their 17 SEER rebate. I believe for a 17 SEER it's 500 to 5. I think it's 550. So we go in and change your furnace, and you do a full furnace AC system. You can do for just the furnace, it's $300 Dominion Energy. You put a 17 SEER air conditioner in at $550. So right there's $850.
Nice.
If you do it with a heat pump, your Dominion Energy goes up to $1,000 rebate. And are we 16, 15, 16?
Yeah, I've got 3 tiers between 1,200 and 1,800.
Yeah.
So depending on how efficient it is. And that's why we call it an incentive, not just a rebate.
Yeah.
Because we're wanting to incentivize you to go to that higher efficiency.
I mean, if you go on to Heber Light Power's website, you can go in and there's rebates, and you click on it. LED lighting, refrigerators.
Which I have to interject. LED lighting is for commercial only. So
commercial. But I mean, ways you can save money. I mean, I was going to say, I believe it was last year, was it January 1st, you couldn't buy the regular bulbs. You have to buy the little LED ones that they kind of freak me out a little bit because you screw them in. It's like, oh, is it really light in here? And then after about an hour, it's like, is the sun up? It's bright. But
different designs.
Other things I talked to Jared a little bit about is I've actually seen customers put a Generac whole home generator in, and there's peak usages and off-peak usages. So I've had people that'll run their generator when it's hot and use natural gas to power the generator to power their house, because natural gas is cheaper at a certain point compared to running power. I mean, we're not at a California or a Washington. I mean, anywhere. California has rolling blackouts that, they just shut the power off. If it's hot, they got to do what they got to do to keep the grid up.
Most of those, something I'd throw out here, most of those things we just talked about, they're really big things, right? They're costly. You got to plan ahead. You got to kind of think about what it's going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, frankly, it's running a generator to offset in the summertime is a big action.
It is.
But just unplugging things you're not using, just that, you can call it a vampiric leach, right?
Yeah.
Systems take power if they're plugged in.
Yep.
Just unplugging stuff you're not using.
Yep.
Or if you're on time of use billing, which a lot of people are and more people will be in the future as Heber Light Power incentivizes that and changes how we bill things. Using the power at the right time is going to save Heber Power money and save you money.
Yep.
And make it easier for all of us. We will literally all have a benefit of lower costs if you will choose to power or to charge your electric vehicle overnight versus in the daytime when we're paying the most for market rates, right?
Yep.
There are things that can be done that are very small, scheduling your thermostat or grabbing some of those scheduled outlets to schedule. If you have an old dishwasher that doesn't have a timer or whatever, grab one of those scheduled outlets, turn the thing on, scheduled outlet, it'll turn on after 10 p.m. By the way, the time of use peak is from 3 to 10 p.m.
Yep.
It'll turn on after 10 p.m. Dishes are still clean overnight. It still does what you need it to do, but it saves you money.
Yep.
And unplugging stuff is huge. It's what this thing blows me away because of the IT stuff that I do, right? A lot of my network connected devices at my office and also at clients are plugged in through battery backups, right? If they have an extended power event, some kind of a problem. One of my clients last year over on Daniels Road or off the airport road was going to have an extended power problem because of an accident with a pole. It took a couple hours to get fixed. It was frankly pretty amazing how fast they fixed it, but it was going to be a couple hours, right? And I was able to call over there and say, hey, listen, your server is going to last on that battery backup for hours.
Yeah.
But all of those network switches powering computers that aren't actually on right now are going to wear that down. Just go unplug those right now.
Go unplug whatever you're not using.
Even if they're not doing anything, they will actually be pulling power just to be on, just to be,
standby.
Yeah, that kind of stuff is simple. You want to save some money, unplug your laptop overnight. It's asleep anyway. But if it's plugged in, it'll actually stay in a higher level of sleep. It'll be checking network all the time, trying to update your email. You unplug it, it'll actually stay asleep. Simple stuff.
And one thing, going back to the HVAC, it's not just your heating and air conditioning, it's weatherization. If your insulation's good, people will call me and say, air conditioner's not keeping up. It's, this. Well, from 3 till sun goes down is the hardest time to cool your house.
Yep.
So, open your windows. Some people go, well, open my windows. I've got hay fever. I've got this. I've got that. I get it. But I grew up with that air conditioning.
Sure.
Most of us here grew up with that air conditioning.
Sir.
Did you have running water in Idaho?
We did. We used it to wash the dirt floors.
Okay. But I grew up with a swamp cooler. I didn't know what air conditioning was, but back then you'd open your window at night and it cools down here at night. Yeah, you can cool. My dad will open the windows at night. And whatever time in the morning, he shuts everything down. Draw in your curtains.
Yep.
And I don't want to say have blackout curtains, but have something that kind of, blocks the UV rays from coming in and stuff. And you can be amazed how much.
A big difference. Yeah. I didn't even grow up in Idaho. I grew up in Midway, and we didn't have air conditioning. Right. and that's the thing. We'd open the windows at night, and then we got the "Are you born in a barn?" comments.
Yeah. And I'm probably, if
day.
my wife was watching, she'd say I'm guilty of not turning lights on. I'll go through the house, turn some on, and she'll walk behind me and turn.
That's my role.
My favorite thing that I found is I've got a smart thermostat that I stole from Jeremy. One, you gave me $50 as a rebate, which I was really excited about.
Yep.
The other thing is I can schedule exactly when I want things to turn on and turn off, and when I want the fan to equalize everything in my home. So I'll run it more throughout the night for air conditioning. That way, I lock everything down during the day, so I don't have to use it in the day.
Yep.
I love that. One thing,
smart.
Megan says she's also eternally grateful that Jeremy installed our AC this summer. This was the first year I had AC.
Yeah, he'd call and be like, "Dude, it's like." we had talked about it even when you worked for him. It was like, "Can I work something out? Get AC?" It finally, his landlord, they needed some new furnaces, and they worked everything out, but.
Miss Kaler, Rachel Kaler, the incredible Rachel Kaler, I should say, asked, could Jared W. Wright discuss the advantages of residential solar and perhaps the obstacles that occur within the grid system when it comes to solar power storage?
No pressure.
She's going to make
Absolutely.
you think is what she's doing.
Yeah, she
She put
is.
you right on
I
the
love
button,
Jared
too.
W. Wright too. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Jared W. Wright.
Well done.
Gosh, okay. A lot of people think that the utility industry is against solar because it's competing against us. We don't even worry about that at all. So, is it beneficial? Absolutely it is, but it's in degrees. So it's not completely beneficial. There's things that we have to look at. A lot of people think we're against solar because we have some distribution circuits closed until we can get figured out what the system can handle so that we're not burning up transformers and burning lines up and things like that. So it's a big deal to have those things in place so that we can keep a healthy system. Now, as far as storage goes, it's going to be even more important when we go to time of use. More as we roll that out to more people. If you're doing solar, it'd be good to have batteries because that's part of the programming you can do is during those peak hours, have the battery discharge.
You can switch over to batteries.
Right.
To say, when I was in Hawaii, there was a guy I was doing some mini splits for him, and he put solar in. And I think they were Tesla. They're like Tesla batteries that
The
just
walls,
hang
right.
on the walls.
Mhm.
And he put four or five of those in with solar.
Well, it's an interesting thing, and you're probably going to get there in a second. But when the sun is shining, we got a lot of production, right?
Yeah.
All these homes are getting power from those solar panels, but it doesn't take much cloud cover to get those productions to drop right down. And what that means is, inside your house, it's unacceptable for your TV to turn off and your computer to turn off. It's unacceptable. Heber Light Power has to plan for that. Yeah. So everyone that wants to be operating on solar, they have to plan for what do we do and how quick can we react to kick in when there's a cloud that goes over on a solar primary circuit, right? That's intense. There's computers, there's people, there's things that have to plan for that. And sorry to take your thunder, but I think it's amazing.
Absolutely.
Some friends bought some acreage in the southwest corner of Wyoming, and they built a homestead, and they're off grid.
Okay.
And watching them, and I mean, he gets on there and comments, and I mean, on Facebook, and he'll write like a 4-page summary on Facebook of, I gotta, the solar panels are great, but what happens in Wyoming in the wintertime? The wind whipped through this summer and ripped his solar panels completely apart. And so it's like I have a gen set he has to run. He'll get up at 3:00 in the morning and check his batteries. And if they're at a certain percent, he fires the gen set up to get them charged because his wife gets up. She does telehealth. So her computers and her Blue Eddy? There's all these things that he's doing. But he'll say, when it's sunny, he goes, we can produce all the power we want. But as soon as the cloud comes over, their generation starts to go down, and then it starts drawing off their batteries. Now, me and my wife went to Kanab this last weekend, and I think is it off I-15? They have like solar fields.
Yeah.
Is that, we looked out there and I was like, well, that's some black dirt. I don't know what's going on. And then all of a sudden the sun kind of shimmered, but there were large solar fields.
Yeah, right before you get to Mona, I think,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah, and we have several projects that we get resource from. So one of which is down on the Navajo reservation. It's called
Red Mesa.
Cliff, see, he knows better. Red Mesa. We get quite a bit of energy from that, but where it gets hard is that's in Nevada, Arizona.
Transmission, the lines
Arizona
up here, right?
And so, and that's another thing.
I was going to say,
I'm not going to go.
That's something I don't understand.
Yeah, because it's more complex than that. But what if they have weather down there? We're nice and sunny here, but there's a storm system that moves through northern Arizona. That's the problem with solar, and that's the problem even locally, because at that point it becomes a double whammy for us. So not only do we lose the generation that they're doing, now we have to supply to make up for
You
what
have to
they
make
had,
up for
as Aaron mentioned.
At the
So
most expensive part of the market,
exactly,
which is daytime. Yeah.
and so and I've had some complaints, rightfully so. All of our solar customers are on time of use. We've required that. And the reason is because we want to differentiate that. So if they're generating during the peak hour, we're going to give them peak rate for it. It's a 1-to-1. And then if they bank up some kilowatt hours, it's going to be on the off peak or on peak, because if they generate a whole bunch during the off peak, we don't want to give them the retail rate
for peak
where it's way more expensive. So, so those are the things we have to balance. In fact, I heard this from our consultant. I actually took a class from him over 10 years ago, but he said there is no such thing as a bad load for a utility. It's how do we get the costs from them? How do we develop a rate that captures the costs that they have? So, those are that's the thing that goes in with the solar.
I
well.
thought HVAC was hard to understand sometimes.
Yeah. Oh,
if you ever want to get your mind blown, go look at how power grids work on
my
YouTube.
gosh.
There's some Tom Scott has some YouTube videos about how power grids work and what goes into the work behind Heber Light Power, because people don't know that. You and I don't know that, right? We turn on the light, the power's there.
Yep.
But what these folks do, these men and women at Heber Light Power, is amazing. They balance all of that, what are we going to need during these hours? How do we get it? What are we costing? Did we buy enough natural gas in advance? And they keep costs low, and they make sure the power doesn't go out. It's amazing. And frankly, if you want to learn that kind of stuff, there's some great videos. All the videos are from all the meetings, the board meetings this year, are available on Heber Light Power's website. And because there were 2 new city council members in the Heber Light Power board, we had some great trainings. If you want to learn some stuff, and you want to have your mind blown what these individuals are doing, it's just crazy what they do to keep power on, and to keep costs low, and to keep it reliable.
Yeah, I'll tell you real quick is we do field trips for the 4th graders in the valley, and we have them come to the power plant. We go through some things. As fun as it is to teach those kids, my favorite part of it is seeing the wide eyes of the adults, because they had no idea, and we just scratched the surface of it, showing them generators and talking about how, it has to go through 1,000 different things from generation source to their house. And it's fun for me to tell the kids, if I hook this generator up directly to your house, it'd blow your house up, which it literally would. But yeah, and then I say, that's why you need to give us a little grace when we have a power outage, because there's 1,000 different things that can go wrong, all so that we can make sure that everyone's
and
safe.
The 4-year-olds are worried about whether Pokemon is on or their Nintendo Switch is going to charge. Do you guys do anything with 4th graders? Or I think it was Mr. Ward that had that little crank generator where somebody would hold one end and he'd crank it and it was nothing, and then he'd join hands and somebody touched it on the other side and he would crank it up and that current would go through you.
That's so cool.
Yep.
You guys do the Mad Scientist too, don't you? Where has a Halloween
the demo trailer.
I love that so much.
Yeah, I get to put a crazy wig on and.
Should have wore that today.
I know. I need a wig for sure.
Oh no!
Yeah, but no,
I'm not any. I know I'm not any. I'm not any better off.
Those are fun things to do. The safety is always our number one thing. But that and Aaron mentioned it. That's why some of the costs we have are there. Is we were talking about it earlier. It's a silent thing.
It's
you can't
silent
smell. You can't see it, smell it, anything.
You can taste it. I don't know that you want to put it in your mouth, but
but I told you, no bad ideas on this.
We need a disclaimer that goes across that says, "Please,
you're not trying anything Jeremy says."
Gear. I mean, I think what's amazing is it's raining, it's thunderstorm, the wind's howling, power goes out, transformer goes down. These guys that work for you, they don't just sit at home and go, well, we're going to wait till it stops raining.
Right.
Rain and electric don't really mix.
Yeah.
And they're these lines. My cousin was a linesman for a while, but I look at some of the gear they have to wear.
Yeah.
It blows my mind
Yeah.
that they're up.
They freeze to death in the winter and cook to death in the summer, just because they have to have that safety gear on. Solid rubber stuff. Imagine wearing solid rubber gloves and sleeves all the way up to your shoulder in the summer.
in 110 degrees
In 100,
on the
yeah.
blacktop in a bucket truck.
And all that stuff has to be replaced every so
Yeah.
often, because if it develops a hole, we're talking about someone's life. Dad
Yeah.
doesn't come home.
I mean, you
That's not
look
acceptable.
at Klein. I mean, I've bought cheap Harbor Freight tools, and they're not terrible, but Kleins are the top rated
For a reason.
a reason.
Yeah.
They're insulated. You grab something. I've
Yep.
cut into wires, and hey, power's off, and I've cut into it, and it pops and blows my
Yeah.
pliers out of my hand.
I've watched you do it.
I believe
Disclaimer.
that.
Disclaimer.
It's crazy what these guys do. I don't think it was last summer, but it might be 2 summers ago. Somebody came through my back lot, so the lot behind where my office is, and I just heard this loud pop explosion. Super fun to hear.
Yeah,
Super scary, right? And it was a box truck that came through, and there was a line hanging down. The top of the box truck hit this line. In fact, if you tag me later, I'll throw a picture in the comments. Somebody come back and look at the comments later to see this picture. It's awesome. Caught it and pulled my entire pole right behind my building down. Just pulled it down. So we blew a switch. I don't know the right name for it, but one of the things that makes it safe, right?
Yeah.
It says, "Oh, hey, there's something here. It's a breaker." There you go.
Uh-huh.
I should have known that. My dad's gonna be upset. My dad's an electrician. I forgot the word breaker for a second. Anyway, blew a breaker. I was amazed. I thought for sure that was it for my day. I thought, I'm done. I got to go home. I got to shut the business. There goes my revenue and my income for the day.
Yep.
No, not only were they there in like 10 minutes, but the thing was fully energized and fixed with a new line ran and all the stuff.
Yeah.
With the truck over there, putting the pole back in and everything.
Up, yeah.
I swear to you, it was an hour and a half.
Yeah.
If it was a minute over hour and a half, I'll be surprised. It was insane.
That's
the
one
responsiveness
of
of this team, and that's because they're frankly have the right gear, the right leadership, the right guidance, and we treat them well. And that's important because as a customer, we must training. Yeah. But as a customer, you want your power provider to be armed to do what they need to do the right way.
Yeah.
I love
Great
this.
Guys.
I love this topic because I'm going to take it from right here and go over to with the misinformation and allegations that are getting thrown out on Facebook and online. You informed me that on Heber Light Power's website, you can go on and track almost everything from the budgets of where it's being spent.
Yeah, it is a little, frankly, it's not meant to be hard, but I'll tell you, it's a little different. So if you're one of those residents that likes to come and get on the city council, for instance, and watch the videos, well, if you land on city council, you're going to see an agenda, you're going to see meeting notes or kind of meeting minutes, right? And then there's a button over to the side that shows the video. Heber Power's website's a little different. If you go to Heber Power and you scroll down a little bit and get to the board meetings, when you click, you're going to see the video first. And you have to know that when you're looking at the video at the top, there's a more resources. Click the more resources, you'll see the board packet. But you're right, John. In the board packet is what's called a check register, right? And you can see every transaction basically that's made for the last month. The things that we approve when we're talking about the action items at the beginning, and we talk about approving the minutes and approving these different things that are on the agenda. Mm-hmm. We're approving those that we've reviewed all of those expenses. And you'll see things like, we talk about rebates, but you'll see things like rebates for, for efficiency. You'll see checks that are written for tool replacement. You'll see gas card replacement. You'll see all those expenses.
And the limousines and champagne and pizza.
You won't see that. You won't see that. And
Jared's private jet that's parked at the airport. Right.
So you won't see that. But here's the thing, and I mean this with all honesty, and I mean it with openness. If you see, and as a city councilor, I'll say the same thing. If you see expenses you don't understand, reach out, ask questions. If you see expenses that seem like a waste of money, reach out and ask why. Yeah. Because the worst case scenario is we're going to look into it and realize something's different, something's off, we can do something better, right? But don't reach out with, your salary is 300% more than it was last year. First of all, come on. Salary didn't go up 300% in 1 year. That'd be amazing.
I was going to say, but I'm going to change jobs if that's what it's doing.
That's not how the world works. I mentioned that because that was one of the things. And the reality is that there was some reporting that was wrong on the state website where they doubled up some salaries. Accidental. The state didn't mean to make a mistake. But if you looked at it, it looked kind of insane.
But it's just more human. I mean, somebody's checks and balances, somebody's input and stuff, and might get an extra zero, might do something like that. It happens.
Reach out, ask questions.
I wish it had happened when my wife writes checks that an extra zero would pop on my paycheck. But
so the paychecks, you don't want to do that on normal size.
Yeah.
So just the whole intent and purpose behind this episode is showing you that the same people that you're going off about online, they're your neighbors.
Yeah.
And it's easy to not trust an entity that you can't see, like a bureaucracy. But when you realize it's the same people that are showing up for your Halloween to entertain your kids, or the same board member who's always trying to be as transparent as possible, these are people you're going to see in the grocery store.
Yeah.
They have to live in the same town that you're having these same discussions about. They're easily accessible. It took us less than 5 minutes to get an agreement to come and do this.
John called me and says, "Hey, we need to have so-and-so on." And I was like, "What?" And I says, "Well, we got to get Jared Wright." And he goes, "Yeah." And I immediately called Jared. Didn't answer my phone the first time, but it took him a minute.
I was hoping he was busy.
But he was busy. He was always busy. But I called and said, "Hey, would you be interested in being on our podcast? We want to talk about some of the misconceptions and the stuff that's flying around, and just try to put a into it." Because we talked about it before the show. It just gets my blood start to boil, and then I don't want to say it ruins my night, but it ruins my night. I'll switch it off and start playing solitaire or something.
Well, some of the best council meetings I've been at, and I've been on a year now, right?
Mm-hmm.
1 year down, 3 years to go, at least in this term, right? Some of the best council meetings we've had are the ones where we have good, insightful questions for people.
Yeah.
And sometimes those questions are directly at odds with what we're doing, right? They're asking questions. Why would you X, Y, Z? Because it X, Y, Z, and it impacts me in this way, or it impacts this in this way. And often those are times for us to go, that's a good thing to think about. That impact is not one that we considered. And it's not because we don't care. It's because we're going at the same rate as everybody else. Sometimes too fast, sometimes too slow. But you point stuff out and we have something to talk about. If you just rail on and on and on, especially when it's inaccurate, like I said, the thing that worries me, the risk there is that you turn people off.
Yeah.
And that engagement is something I wanted. That was, again, things I ran for is I wanted more engagement from the public. I want people to show up with good ideas. I want people to be interested, to be involved, and to understand. You can't do that if you're just upsetting people all the time.
Yep.
There's a way to have disagreements, and some of the best insights and best meetings are the ones where there's some good, solid disagreements that get us thinking, that get us talking.
Well, and then what I look at is I look at my daily job. I always say I don't have time, but I can't imagine you're on city council, you run your own business, and you're on the Heber Light Power board. I don't know how you make time.
I don't sleep much.
You'll sleep when you're dead.
Yeah.
You figured out you could retire at 93, and if you retired at 93, you could be retired for 11 minutes.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. Here's the thing. I'm willing to do it, and I think it's important to understand. We're talking about the power tonight for sure, but as we think about city or we think about county, we think about these different entities. We're sitting in Midway right now. These folks that are working for governments and working with councils and boards and whatnot, we're not doing it to get rich. It's not that kind of money, right? We're doing it to be helpful. We're doing it because we're willing to be helpful. And the reality is the best thing you can do for that is try to support, try to understand, try to quell rumors and support with facts. If somebody spouts off about something that seems untrue, remind them they can go to a city site, they can go to a Heber Light Power site, and they can get the actual facts about what was talked about.
Hey, wait a second. Josh said you meet up for lunch and breakfast and lunch. How do we get on that schedule?
Who's that? Josh Hook? Yeah, Josh. How often does that happen? We try all the time, and most of the time I end up canceling on it. You get on the schedule just by asking. It's a real thing. One of the things that I took for granted before I ran for council, and I'll be honest right now, something I was wrong about was I looked up at the council members and I saw sometimes things I disagreed with, and I thought, why didn't they dig deeper on that? Why didn't they ask that question? I had no idea that they had 400-page agendas. And I'm not exaggerating. I think it was 572 last week. They had 400-page agendas that they're reviewing between Thursday and Tuesday.
Yeah.
And they're doing their best to understand and ask questions and and get as much insight as possible. And then we have a meeting, and the staff goes back, and sometimes the city, but the same happens. The staff goes back and works for 2 solid weeks to come back with answers and information and make recommendations and help us understand in those few hours we're sitting up there what we can do to help the residents, what we can do to make Heber a better place, or Heber Power, or Midway. They do the same thing in Midway.
Yeah.
These are people that are doing their best, and the thing that you can do is try to be informed, try to be involved, and know that we really do want to hear from you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's also spots to go find the answer.
Exactly.
So ask the question. But be okay when we point you to the accurate information for the answer.
It's a good example is Tori Broughton with Trek.
She's doing fantastic.
We say at almost every show that she doesn't have to get on her computer at night at the end of the day and go, hey, I attended the city council meeting and this was what discussed.
She's easily digestible, bite-sized, nothing but the facts. She's not telling you how to think. She just wants you to know this is what
and what I like is she dumbs it down for me. Yes, I know it's just for me that she dumbs it down.
Yeah.
One of the you mentioned Rachel. One of the big reasons I ran for this office is because I saw what Rachel was doing. And one of the things she did the best, she didn't pay me or anything for this, but one of the things I think she did the best is when there was a question.
Check will be in the mail.
When there was a question, she would say, here's where the answer is. Here's the recording. Yeah. And she'd often follow up with a timestamp. Yeah. So not only did she give you the resource again, but she'd make it really easy to get to. And it's something I try to do as often as possible. When the answer was discussed publicly, or hey, how did that conversation go? I'll come back and I'll say, here's the video. Start from 10 minutes, 15 seconds in and go for 5 minutes, and you'll get your answer. You'll see how the conversation went. You'll see that person you just accused of being pro-developer, anti-resident, asked some pretty dang good questions and got some people thinking. And you'll see that person that you say is just lazy is up there asking questions because they're reading through and they're trying to understand, and it's the same with all these organizations. But be patient, be calm, and remember there are places you can go to get the accurate truth.
I know that I didn't realize, as far as city government, any government really, until Rachel was voted in, I was like, I had no clue what was going on in Heber. I was just working. Everybody would say, did you see this? I'm like, I wish I had time to dive in on the computer, but I am running here, running there, doing this, doing that. But
well, I have to say that it's just funny. My dad served on the city council and was mayor. And after he had served and people he knew would run for office and they win the election, every single time he'd say, oh, well, they're about to learn and see what's really going on. Because, at that point, you're getting into those agendas and you're getting to see how things are actually operating. So, I'll just put another plug in. It's available. Yeah. If you can't find it, we'll do our best to find it for you.
Well, goes back to, if you're not happy with the way things are being run for council the next year. Run for, Wasatch County Council, Planning Commission.
The only way to make sure your voice isn't heard is to be quiet and to give up. That's the only way you're surely not going to have your voice heard. It takes almost nothing to write an email to show up to a meeting. I realize the timing doesn't always work for people. Just send an email. You send an email at 2 o'clock in the morning. You're not going to wake anybody up. We'll get to it the next day. But, reach out. Let us know.
I think that Mayor Wright sounds pretty good. It's been done before.
Hey, I tell people all the time, I am so happy I work for Heber Light Power, so that isn't a possibility.
Where's Mayor Mines? We need to have Mayor Mines back on.
Yes, sir.
Yep, that's a real thing. Is that ding? Are those comments or questions over there? Those dings we're hearing?
I don't know what it is.
Well, all right.
I went to the other side and checked. No, I've let you guys know about most of the comments that have came in. We're about an hour into this. We've flew through it. Is there anything else that you guys are wanting to bring up? Make sure to put out there as far as information goes.
I'll just put out another plug if you, for myself and my capacities at the power company. My job, and I love to tell people this, I have the weirdest job in the world. My job is to tell you how to use less of what I'm selling. So
the anti-salesman.
Yeah, I'm an anti-salesman. I love doing it. It's fun to sit in someone's home and go through and figure things out like that. Call me. mostly available. I only screen Jeremy's calls.
Yeah, pretty much.
Me
So, so yeah, I just do that. Anything I can do to help, that's what I get paid to do. So
Love it.
And what I'd say is, there's a couple of opportunities to, like I say, make yourself heard. I keep mentioning them, but show up to meetings, both to the city. If you're here in Midway City meetings. If you want to come to the Heber Light Power meetings, they're open. The board meetings are open. Come in, sit down, ask questions, dig in. If you want to understand it more, there are people that love to talk about this stuff, and you can understand more about it. Write emails. Pick up the phone if you've got a question. The only thing I'd say is if you hear something that can't possibly be true, it's probably not true.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder, right?
If you hear something about city council, contact your council member. If you hear something Heber Light Power, call Heber Light Power.
It's it's so easy to get an accurate answer.
The accessibility and the transparency is incredible, and that's coming from somebody who used to troll and downplay it a lot. Mm-hmm. And as I grew up and learned more and met the people and started to know people, like, to have this kind of access to people make the decisions in our county is incredible. Yeah. And so, HeberLightPower.com. You guys also have a Facebook that is incredible. Whenever there's power outages, instead of going to Ask Heber or whatever, I go right to Heber Light and Power, and you guys have a post about it and when it's supposed to be back on. And
that reminds me, something exciting that's coming up here in the next few months is we're helping with a beta on a system that will narrow down where the outage is and send you text message updates. So
cool.
That's going to be exciting. So
that's cool. My favorite thing to do
stay
is
tuned.
Right behind my house is one of your
substations.
Yeah. And whenever I hear a big loud pop and things go out, I love to call and be like, "Hey, it was behind my house."
We love that.
Yeah. It actually is helpful, right?
It is
very helpful. Yeah.
Don't hesitate to call because it actually helps us find where the power outage is. So
Tabitha Mayor just asked, "Wait, when did John grow up?" It's still a secret. It hasn't happened yet.
I know Megan can attest to that. You're not grown up.
I'm the third kid for sure. I'm the one that makes the most trouble and the most messes and leaves all the damn lights on.
That's right.
All right. Well, gentlemen, I can't say thank you enough for being on here.
Anytime.
Just so you guys know, we only grow by you guys sharing, spreading the word. And this is something that we want to do is make sure that we're bringing you what you're seeing and what you want to be hearing. Yeah. We want to dispel the rumors. We want to dispel the misinformation and let you guys know those same people are the same people you're seeing in the grocery store, like I said before. So please help us spread the word, share it. To support the podcast, we are selling these stickers, $2 each. Hit up Jeremy Osman. He'll deliver them right to your house with a smile. And
really,
yep.
There's some people don't want me at their house.
Well, then he'll drop in your mailbox.
My wife doesn't want me at the house.
Anything else, sir?
I don't know. Next week, are we gonna skip next week? Or are you gonna try and do something next week? I'm gonna be out the next 2 weeks.
I don't know. We'll figure it out. I'll
figure it out.
Chances are there will not be a stream next week, but
he likes doing them by himself.
Guest trust volunteer.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh,
yeah.
There will be okay. I'm going to hold you to that.
Cool. Don't live stream because you may not like what you see.
Don't live stream what?
Me.
In Hawaii?
Yeah.
I might. Oh, bathing suit, James. Yeah. Got it. Yeah,
bathing suit weather.
Yeah, got it. Understood.
Oh, there goes our 2 followers.
Yeah, everybody just dropped.
All right. Thank you guys very much. We love you.